Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Dear White People, Season 1, Episode 6. It's called Chapter 6. You know what, I doubted myself thinking I hadn't looked at the name yet. It's because I didn't need to, because it's just Chapter 6. So, Chapter 6. Of course, we had a big episode last time. That was the climax of the first half of the season, and I think you actually quite rightly predicted that this would be the new incident which everything else would now spiral out from. Certainly feels that way.
It just made sense, didn't it?
Because we've swung back around to Sam. No, I don't actually know if we'll go through the characters one by one again like we did before. I'm of two
I'm
minds
not sure.
because part of me feels like we've set up such a core group of them now that I could see like the next episode just being the rest of the group rather than
That's it. I'm not sure we need to anymore.
yeah. Don't get me wrong. This was still very much a Sam centric episode, but it still felt. This was
That's it. It was almost as much Reggie as it was Sam.
yeah, and it was certainly a lot less just Sam than the first episode was when it was
Yeah.
herself. That really matters, but just looking sort of from a structural standpoint, like looking how it goes. So Lionel totally called the campus security.
Yeah, exactly. We called that one.
Yeah, it was the other guy's like who called the cops? I want to meet that son of a bitch, and Lionel's just like
Yeah. As soon as he
take
says
my
that and the
notes.
camera cuts to Lionel, it's like, cheers for the confirmation.
So this was obviously dealing with the aftermath, and it dealt with obviously Reggie's in a pretty rough spot, and everyone else is like, "Oh, we need to do something. We need to do something." I did like that when they were having that big meeting. It seemed like there was quite a few white people there as well. It was very it was definitely in the same place, and it was most of the same black community that we'd had in this area before. But there was definitely quite a few more white people there wanting to do something about it. Like we said, the actual incident, like everyone else felt like equally shocked by it, and it felt like it affected everyone to a degree. That's not to say that the white people were equally as affected, but it still shook them. It still
Yeah, they were on the same level where they
Yeah.
realized the reality.
yeah they going through the experience has made them want to contribute and do something, certainly. And that's certainly the expression that they got here, and it never felt in the scene like anyone was judging them for being there or feeling like they didn't belong. Like the conversation was going on as natural as it would have or could have done.
Right.
And of course Reggie's sitting there quiet throughout and not really saying much. Everyone's like, "Oh, we'll come to the meeting with the dean with you," including Troy. Of course, it's his father, so he's like, "Yeah, I'll be there. I'll make sure things go smoothly." And they're talking about all these various things that might happen. They want the security guard to lose his job, so on, all these different things, and they're all having these debates. And I think obviously maybe the highlight of the scene was Coco's kind of criticism of like it kind of finally came back round her critique of the way Sam does things and the whole being woke and not being woke, and she's like, I've seen people be shot my whole life. Like it doesn't matter how woke you are. Like once you're dead, it doesn't matter. You're dead.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? And she was talking about how sometimes it's better to almost pretend that it's normal, just go along with it because it's better than being dead.
Yeah, and Lionel brings up you're talking about assimilation, and she's like, no, I'm talking about
Preservation.
preservation. And admittedly, like when you're having that conversation, where's that line? Like there's a very
No, right.
fine
And
line.
I think it's right that someone brought that up because I think it's a valid point that needs to be discussed. And I think it would have felt false to me if no one had
Oh
suggested
yeah,
that.
and it's a tricky. I mean, I don't have the answer to that question. I don't know what that line is.
No, and I mean, I think even in the last episode, we saw the point where Reggie realized the line, where it got to a point where, he was challenging the cop for a bit, and then the gun came out and he went, no, preservation. He immediately obeyed. I think
Oh,
that
sure,
was
yeah.
the point there, that, there is a line.
Yeah, and arguably other people would have seen it coming sooner and
Right.
dialed it back in. Before, they wouldn't have maybe agitated him
And
further.
of course, he shouldn't have to. But
Of course, yeah.
I think ultimately the point that Coco was making is it doesn't matter whether we should or not. It's just being alive is more important.
Yeah, yeah, and it's hard to argue with that point, to an
Exactly.
extent, yeah. But one of my favourite things about this episode actually is basically it's a psychology student. So Sam goes with Gabe to meet his friends, and I was actually a little worried at first because if you remember, I thought it was going to parallel when he met her friends at the first episode. I thought it was going to be this nice symmetry of.
See, what it was for me was, I think it was in a couple of episodes ago where they spoke about how, where when the white people bring the friend home, and to show how cultured they are, and
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna like play like that and really be really awkward at first.
Yeah, and it started off a little bit weird. They go to this, it's just a coffee shop, but immediately these two friends, like they're sipping these little espresso cups and whatever, and they're I don't want to be offensive to a certain type of person here, but they look like hipster douchebags. That's
No,
not.
no, it definitely. But by the end of it, the guy is like, how I think it was last episode of the one we were talking about how Rashid stole the comedy.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, and like that, the guy is that for me in this episode.
Well, I think what was funny about this scene for me is that I was worried at first because when they started, it felt like they were doing the whole, oh,
Really
we're
patronising,
we're
didn't it?
super liberal, we're going to, we pretend to care, we're going to talk about, oh, I can't believe racism's going on today, and like it felt like it was starting that way, and I was like, oh, Sam's going to start to feel uncomfortable, and it's going to
And she does give Gabe a bit of a look, like, really.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, these two are better characters, but as the scene went on, you kind of understood what type of people they were more than you did at the start. They weren't just stereotypes, and they kind of became something else, and it got to the point where they started making fun of, it was actually Gabe's parents who are conservative. They started making fun of, like, oh yeah, so this what was it, porch is built out of the bones of poor people or something like that, I think was the line.
Yeah.
And they were all sort of like going along and laughing together, and it was kind of like, oh, Sam does actually kind of fit in here.
I thought that
Like
was
that.
really smart on their part. The friends, I think they did that intentionally, where they went, hey, common enemy, go against the politics instead of the race.
Yeah, sure. I thought you were going to go down a different path. This is what I was thinking. This is the trick, right? See, whenever you're with a new boyfriend, girlfriend, right, and you're meeting the friends for the first time, it's a little bit awkward. You don't know what to say, like, oh, I need to impress them, this and that. Common enemy, and this is not a serious thing like you were just saying. The common enemy is your significant other. Start making fun of them, and you will unite with the other friends.
Yeah,
like
it's guaranteed.
It works so well. That's what you do, and that's kind of how this felt to me. It was like they were all making fun of his parents, even though she'd never met them. I liked the thing where it's like, oh, I said they were, I think it was Ipswich. He said it's like, oh, they're from Ipswich,
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. That was, yeah, Ipswich is in England.
Yeah, I don't know where you got Ipswich
why
from.
did I say Ipswich?
I have no idea.
To be fair, New Hampshire sounds pretty British.
English. Yeah, no, it does.
It does.
I assume there's a Hampshire somewhere in England if it's a New Hampshire.
I assume so. That's the thing. Like, you assume anything that's got a new in it in the US, you assume that England somewhere's got the non-new version.
It's usually a fair assumption.
Yeah. Ipswich, where the hell did I get that from? Anyway, and she's like, it's implied, and she's like, it's a swing state. That cracked me up.
Yeah, that was good.
But no, so it's a really good scene where these are kind of like, at first you were worried that these people are going to be stereotypes and these people are going to be a certain way, and by the end of it, it's like, no, much like a lot of the other characters, by the end of the scene, it's like, oh no, okay. I mean, not that we get as much of them as we did Sam or any of the other characters we're focused on, but by the end of the scene, it's like, okay, they're not just stereotypes, they actually are people with a sense of humour, and they have, like,
yeah, it cracked me up when they were going, oh, we'll come to the rally, and they want to show support.
The wood thing.
Yeah, she also goes, yeah, but you'll miss your Cambodian wood carving or something or other.
Whatever it was.
And he just goes, being a hero demands sacrifice, and sips his coffee.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think this actually did a job. It wasn't awkward, right? But it still kind of showed this weird, oh, this is the fight against racism from the privileged side of the line, where, oh, I'm sacrificing my woodcutting class. I'll take a sip of my coffee before I go and, like, it's like very, like, you want to help, but you're not necessarily the one who's been shat on all the time, so it's easier to make it.
But it's a nice statement still to give up something, because obviously they're not giving up anywhere near as much, but it's something that they did care about. So it's something. So it shows a sense of commitment, at least.
Yes, the little things, I suppose. But that was a great scene.
It was
really good stuff. But of course, throughout the episode, so they plan all these different things. They go to the meeting with the dean, and Reggie doesn't show up. They're all worried, and I was getting worried actually. I was like, oh, what's Reggie done? Like, I was worried. Is he in a bad place? What's going on? How dark is this going to go? And she ends up running into after this meeting. She goes and hunts for him, and she finds him. And he's being kind of cagey. He's like, oh, no, and like, talk to me. I was like, well, I just said something to you. It was directed at you. I'm fine. I'm getting on with things. And he's like, I've got a place to be. And she's like, well, I'm coming too. Because she's at this point she's worried enough that she's like, I'm not leaving him alone. I want to see what he's doing. And it turns out he goes to this place, this open mic club, and she's like, oh, I didn't know you came here. It's like, oh, I've come here all the time. And he also drops that Joelle's been there a few times.
Yeah, it's because she says, oh, I don't feel like you have to hide it. And he's like, I don't. It's just you that hasn't paid attention, basically.
Yeah, that's kind of what that dig was. And there's some singing on stage, and then there's this interpretive dance number.
Yeah, I mean, I guess technically that's what it is.
Yeah. Again, this is another example of someone thinking they're saying something about racism, but not really.
Oh God, when she got up there and she goes, "Oh, I want my pain to heal," I'm like, "Your pain?"
Yeah, your pain. Oh,
wrong choice of words there, love.
How struggling you must be watching all this happen.
I know.
Yeah, but obviously they cracked some jokes. The 12 minutes a slave line in particular
was good. Yeah.
Cracked me up. That was a good line. And then Reggie goes up, and Reggie has this poem, which at first I thought it was another poem, but it seems like there's a lot of phrases in there that are definitely taken from other sources.
Yeah, definitely.
But it is his own composition because he eventually gets more specific, and he references the event itself.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, that just reminds me, I liked how even the open narrator is trying to do his usual thing where he's kind of posh, he's kind of doing the usual spiel, and he's like, "Oh, I've got nothing after that. I'm sorry."
It's just like, just forget it. I've got nothing. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, we can put it on our face for so long, but eventually, it's what it is.
Just here. We're gonna just face it.
And I actually thought this was because typically this is the type of scene in like TV shows and movies where I can kind of zone out a little bit when a character is like reading a poem or something like that. Typically because there's something so stilted about it, and I mean, I don't know what it is. There's something in the way it's captured, or maybe it's just that things like poetry aren't as intimately interesting to me. Typically.
Generally speaking, I'm not that into poetry. I think it's because it has so many rules and its structure is so defined that I find it hard. Like I say, it can feel stilted because they'll have to obey these rules.
Do you know what worked here? It wasn't even. I mean, the words were good, right? But the reason why this worked was the acting.
Yeah.
Well, that and it was shot very well. There was a lot of nice dramatic angles like going into this to heighten the emotion. But that's the key thing here. Is I think that the acting made this feel so emotional. Where it is in the story, everything he's saying, like, you can hear him choking up as he's saying the words. Like he's been avoiding talking about it all episode, and he finally gets it out here on stage.
Yeah, it was one of the few times in this show that there wasn't any music as well. Like I don't know if you've noticed, it's kind of dawned on me as we've been watching. There's been a lot of music, not like doing anything specific, just in the background most of the time.
It keeps up the pace. There's a nice beat to the scenes because
it does,
of it.
and also like, sometimes music's used as a shield. It stops things feeling too real. So it kind of gives you this little bit of a barrier where it's still a TV show. But then here, where it stopped, and you get the reality.
It's the same with the last episode. The gun scene had no music. Like everything went quiet.
When it's like, no, you need to feel the impact of this.
Exactly. So it was just really impressive done. And to get back, actually, this ties in. I was going to make the point earlier, but it actually ties in nicely here because Sam after this is like, oh, you should come to the rally. Like they're going to set up. They're going to like do a blockade at this pep rally, and he's like, no, that was for me, and it linked into something one of the Gabe's friends, who's like a psych major or whatever, brought up how it's hard for a public tragedy or a public victim to grieve or deal with the process afterwards because it's immediately politicized and people are trying to use it for their own goals. And even Sam, even though her goal's noble, it's not like what she's doing is bad necessarily, but he doesn't have time for it to just be about him. It's about everything else.
Maybe it's good for the overall cause. Like, I think he even agrees with that. Like, yeah, it probably would be good for the overall cause, but it's not good for him on a personal level.
Yeah, he just has to deal with it. He is a person who's been affected by something. He has to work through that himself. He's not ready to be standing on a box and
Yeah,
like
it was like
shouting it
he
out.
could deal with that one small room where it was comfortable and he
Well,
presumably knew most of the people there. They would
that
probably be
was
quite regulars.
that was the line that I really liked though, was when she asked him to do it, and he says that poem was for me.
Yeah.
That I like that line a lot. That really hit home what it was. And then the final sort of moments of the episode, we sort of like bring up like him feeling like detached from her kind of trying to like get back into his life in this episode. It kind of all comes to a head where he basically, I guess, because he's went through this traumatic incident, he can't, he's not got the strength to put up this pretense anymore. He's just like, hey, I've been into you since like day one, and you've been kind of, you've made it feel plausible since then that this might happen. But that now you're with Gabe, and I had to watch you be with him. And he references incident. I've never felt more alone in my life. Being in that room surrounded by people. And she's trying to go along with it, and she's trying to like leave, and she's like, "Oh, I guess I should go to the rally," which she, was her idea and helped set up.
Yeah.
And he goes in, and he's going to watch this stupid TV show and try and make himself feel better, and just kind of be alone. But he leaves the door open. And I actually really liked the music that was playing during this portion, as she was deciding whether or not to come in, and it was kind of like, yeah, I need to go, but then she wasn't moving, and then she started walking forward through the door, and the whole thing, it was like, yeah, these two have a bond, these two do care about each other. Certainly, there's obstacles and there's weird things about it going on, and there's obviously other people, because the final moment, of course, is they're about to kiss, and her phone vibrates. Gabe's calling. And she turns the phone off, and of course the subtle touch which sells it perfectly is she looks at the camera after she does it. It's a very meta, breaking the fourth wall moment, which you typically shouldn't do, but here it works.
You know what I did.
Yeah, and it's very conflicting actually, because I think what this episode did, I mean the whole series as a whole, but this episode especially, it's like, no, Gabe is not just some douchebag. He is actually a person, and
yeah, because. I mean, you said it was Sam's idea, the rally, but it wasn't. It was his idea.
That's true, yeah. Well, she went along with it. She helped.
She went along with it, but even when she phoned Reggie originally to say, because she said Gabe had this idea, then she went, no, we had this idea. Like, she corrected it to a group thing because she didn't want to put it as just his idea because it might be seen weirdly. But he's genuinely doing his best to help out there.
Yeah, just in general, he seems like a decent person. He's got decent friends. Even Joelle was trying to like be nice about him at the start of the episode.
Yeah. Also, loved her with the chicken nuggets.
Oh yeah, that was pretty funny when she's okay, because that scene was pretty good actually, because she's eating the chicken nuggets and Sam hides the bag, and then she somehow has one in the next shot, and I thought it was a mistake at first, and then Sam's like, "Where did that one come from?"
The look she gives is fantastic.
Oh, it was good. Yeah, and then there's the guy who phones up and he's like, "Oh, maybe it was Reggie's fault," and this caller's like saying all this stuff, and then Sam's like, "Look, your white privilege can," or she says something like that, but she's like, "Oh, you're white, then you should,
She definitely says, "Check your white privilege."
Yeah. And then he's like, "I'm black," and she's like, "Oh, sorry, brother. Still wrong though."
She's like, "Oh shit, that one went wrong."
No, I thought this was another strong episode.
It was. I really appreciate it. The whole thing was just the fallout from last episode, as it should have been. It would have felt false if it wasn't.
Oh yeah, it had to be. Other small moments that were really good was the Dean, like when Sam like confronts him and says, "How would you feel if this happened to Troy?" And he's like, "Oh, this would never happen to Troy because I raised him." And I think he's trying to convince himself of that. I'm not sure if he 100% believes it.
Yeah, I don't know if he believes it either. I don't think he does, but he's just saying that.
Yeah, and I think it would be too on the nose for it to happen to Troy this season, or it'd be too easy to just do that as a plot device to make him realise stuff. Right. But from a writing standpoint, you can't just repeat the same thing again to make
it would, as hard hitting as it is, it would lose impact if you do this with just every character.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely repeat it again down the line. Like, it would probably be quite a big moment if
if they thought they were making progress.
Yeah, like say we ended a season with a scene like that, but maybe this time the gun actually goes off. Like, you could see that would be the scare factor. It's like, well, last time, the person got out alive, but this time.
That's it. I think it would be interesting in like 2 or 3 seasons time where they think they've made some progress and they're like things should be better, but instead the result is actually worse.
Which oddly is making me think of Night of the Living Dead, which might sound like an odd comparison if you've not seen that film, but there's actually a lot of racial social commentary in that. It's worth checking out. It's really, if you've not seen, I mean, it's a classic movie, but you'd be amazed at the young people these days who don't go back and watch old black and white movies. Like, get on it, people.
Yeah, shame on them.
Shame on them. But yeah, that's Dear White People episode 6. We'll be back with episode 7 at some point. I'm not going to promise when it is. I keep saying we're going to try and do 2 in 1 week, and we keep trying to, and then it's not happening. So no promising, but we shall try and see what we can do. So thank you very much for watching. Let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. But otherwise, guys, that is us. Or you can go to patreon.com, mailfuzztv, and support us there if you want to. But that's us, guys. So thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.